Okay, call the meeting to order. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the January 15, 2025 Niskayuna Zoning Board of Appeals. The first thing we have on the agenda, we need to call the roll. So let's call the roll, Linda.
Mr. Trimarchi?
Here.
Mr. Gentile?
Here.
Ms. Pacheco?
Here.
Mr. Stein?
Here.
Mr. Antonikowski?
Here.
Acting Chair Latif?
Here. Our first order of business, we have to approve the minutes for the meeting of December 18, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the minutes? I see none. Ms. Chocchetti, please call the roll.
Mr. Trimarchi?
Were you?
I was in favor.
Mr. Gentile?
Abstain.
Ms. Pacheco?
Abstain.
Mr. Stein?
Aye.
Mr. Antonikowski?
Yes.
Acting Chair Latif?
Yes. Okay. This has been approved, the minutes. I'm just going to take a second and like to welcome Mr. Stein to the board, filling full-time now. So welcome to the board. He's filling for Mr. Greenspa. So we welcome you. Next thing, I would like to call Linda, call the first case, please.
Appeal by Michael Petway for a variance from Section 220-25B1A of the zoning ordinance of the Town of Niskayuna as it applies to the property at 857 Northumberland Drive, Niskayuna, New York, located in the R1 low-density residential zoning district, to maintain a 6-foot fence which exceeds the height limit in the side yard. Fence Section 220-25B1A permits the maximum height for fences located in the front and side yards to be 4 feet. As constructed, a 6-foot high fence is located in the side yard. Therefore, a 2-foot fence height variance is required. 11 notices were mailed, 0 responses.
Okay, if the applicant can step forward to the mic, please tell us your name, your address, and if you can explain what you're doing here with your application.
How you doing? My name is Michael Petway. My address is 857 Northumberland Drive. I got 2 responses right here from my neighbors that they gave me as letters of recommendation. I don't know who I'll give these to.
Okay, you can give them to Linda. Can we keep them?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, and if we can pass them to, or should we read them, Laura, or? Yeah. Let's have her read those and then we'll have you get started.
No problem.
Okay. January 11th, 2025. Town of Niskayuna Zoning Board of Appeals regarding the support for variance request for Michael Petway, property at 857 Northumberland Drive. Dear members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, I hope this letter finds you well. My name is Ralph Bonilla, and I reside at 870 Worcester Drive in the town of Niskayuna. I am writing regarding the variance request for Mr. Michael Petway, who has built a 6-foot fence at 857 Northumberland Drive. I would like to express my support for the approval of Mr. Petway's request to maintain his fence at the 6-foot height. As his neighbor, I believe this fence provides several benefits to our community. 1, added security around the pool. Mr. Petway has a swimming pool in his backyard. The taller fence deters unauthorized access and helps prevent children, pets, or wildlife from inadvertently wandering into the pool area more effectively than a 4-foot fence. 2, enhanced privacy. The 6-foot fence offers both Mr. Petway and neighboring homeowners greater privacy. This additional height helps minimize visibility into yards and fosters a sense of security and comfort for everyone. 3, positive neighborhood appearance. Mr. Petway's fence is well constructed, poses no concern to me or, to my knowledge, any other neighbors, and adds to the neighborhood's overall appeal. Given our proximity, I can confidently state that this fence has no adverse effect on my property or daily life. I believe it is in our community's best interest to approve Mr. Petway's variance request and allow him to retain the fence at its current height. Thank you for your time and consideration. Should you require any additional information, please feel free to contact me. I'm not going to read the contact information into the record for, privacy, but I appreciate your work on behalf of our town and respectfully ask that this letter be included in the record supporting Mr. Pedway's variance request. Sincerely, Ralph Bonilla. And he has his signature notarized. Town of Niskuna Zoning Board of Appeals, to whom it may concern. My name is Rhonda Hood, and I live at 874 Worcester Drive, Niskuna, New York, 12309. I have lived at this address for 20 years, and it is a pleasure to have Mr. Petway and his family as new neighbors. I have recently been aware that the town has a problem with the height of his fence being at 6 feet tall. My fence borders my backyard and poses no His fence borders my backyard and poses no problem to me or my family. In fact, I appreciate the enhanced security. They have a swimming pool in their yard, and I do have a young child that doesn't realize the dangers of water. At the height of 6 feet, the fence seems safer than a 4-foot fence, which would be shorter than my curious son. Additionally, the fence provides greater privacy for the Petaway family and for my family, as we are free to use our yards in discretion. To this end, I would like to express my strong support in the variance request of Michael Petway to retain the fence at its current 6 feet height. If there are any additional inquiries or concerns, then Rhoda also provided her contact information. I thank you in advance for your attention to this matter, and her signature is also notarized.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Garland. Mr. Petway, I just want to let you know before you get started, that the board, we have only 6 people here tonight. Usually we have 7. You're going to need 4 out of 6 to be able to approve your application tonight. If you like to delay it until we have 7 people next time, we will give you that option, and you don't have to pay the fee to show up next time. So if you like to continue, we can go ahead and continue, and it is your decision if you want to wait till next time until we have a full board here.
No, I'm okay to proceed.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
So
So
basically,
just basically what you need to do is tell us what, medication you did to size the fence smaller, and just go explain your situation, why you need the 6 feet and so on.
basically the 6-foot fence is just good for my children. I got nieces, nephews that all come visit. They're smaller, you know what I'm saying? So the fence is definitely the height. Keeps out wildlife, keeps my family safe, my dog, everything that I got going on. And right there at that same spot on the side, I have the property slopes down, so it's kind of like the fence. Even if you put a 4-foot fence, it would be lower actually than 4 feet. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
we just put that there for added security. That's all.
I'm going to open it to the board for questions. So go ahead, guys, if you have any questions.
I have a quick question as to which portion of the fence is on the side yard and the front as opposed to the rear.
It's hard to see in the diagrams, but it's this red line right here is where the variance is being requested. So the building permit was issued with the black line, but the fence as built follows this red line, which is what the building inspector noted on inspection, and that's why it's here. So that little red line portion.
Okay, and a question to the applicant: how long is the distance of that red line from the black line to where it meets the house? About how 5 feet, 10 feet?
Yeah, maybe about, I'll say 7 feet, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, about 7 feet.
And how long from the fence to the house? That little piece that it basically goes from the house to the side yard. Just that little piece right there.
This little front part right here
Yeah,
that
the
just goes
base
across
of the
about.
front
I think
yard.
it's about 6, maybe like 4. The actual gate is about 4 foot, so maybe about. I'm not sure, maybe 6 feet or something. I'm not sure, 5 feet. I'm
Okay.
not sure. I didn't measure it, but
No, that's fine. Just wanted to get a sense of how big it was.
yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
Laura, the address address of the first person in the letter was which one?
Yeah, so Linda pointed that out to me because she's on top of these things. The letters were written from this address here and this address, these two addresses.
Right, you get the next door neighbor closest to the fence is the second letter.
Yeah, and you can actually see the fence in the aerial. It's this part of
Right.
it right here.
Okay, so it's both the most relevant neighbors, so to speak. Is that
The closest neighbors to the fence.
got it?
Okay, anybody else?
Yes, Mr. Petway, I have a couple of questions for you. And I know my colleagues are just trying to understand the nature of where the fence is that was installed at 6 feet high. Does it come to the front corner of the house or is it back a little ways?
It comes to the front corner of the house.
Okay, okay. And I'm just eyeballing this from the plan that was submitted. I would guess that you said there was a gate in that fence?
Yeah, there's a
that front.
entry. Yep.
Okay. And the gate is closer to the house or to the neighbor?
It's like closer to my house more than the neighbor.
And then how many panels approximately are there from there?
From the gate or on the side yard?
From the gate towards the neighbor?
I think it's 2 panels.
Okay. So I'm going to guess it's something about 15 feet and then it runs parallel to the house along the property line. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you mentioned previously that the neighbor, as we're looking at the plan on the screen to the right,
Right.
their property is higher. Is that correct?
Yeah, like the actual land takes a slope down hill.
Into your property.
Just the whole the both properties, they just take a slant down. The land is built like that. I'm not sure how or why, but
Right. So, if you were to stand in your neighbor's yard looking towards your yard, you'd be higher up, correct?
yeah. Right.
So if I understand you correctly, and you can just confirm yes or no, that the intent of having the 6 foot is because that's partly because they're higher up on the next property.
No, so what's going on is my property is like it's a slope when you get to this property. So if you stand on my side of the fence, it goes down like this. So if I put 4-foot fence there, it'll just be you could just see right over the fence and it's low and the kids will be able to just come right over. Because as you get the 6-foot part of the fence, it stays up as the land is up here, but as it keeps coming, it goes down. So the fence would just be super lower than 4 foot. That'd just be how it would be built. I don't know what's going on with the land. I don't know if it's wetland or
But it is higher on the neighbor's lot, correct?
yeah, it's higher. It's higher on the neighbor's lawn on just right there on that part. Yeah, it's higher at the top, but when you get to the side, it gets low.
Right, it slopes towards the street.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
I have a couple questions. The side yard there, what is on is that your neighbor's side yard that were next to you, or is that their rear yard?
It's the rear yard.
Okay. So to clarify, if the fence was in their yard, it would be a 6 foot, it would be a rear fence at that point, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Okay, that's, wanted to clarify. Oh, yep, okay, I can see it there. Okay, actually, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Laura, question for you on the side of the neighbor. So the neighbor could put fence over there and it can be 6 feet, correct?
Yeah, I think that is true. That house is a corner lot,
Right,
and so it has 2 front yards, but the corner lots are allowed to consider the side yard as their rear yard.
right.
So I think that if this house were to draw a line from this corner this way, they would be allowed to have a 6-foot fence pretty much in this exact same spot, pretty much.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, yes. Okay, anything else you have, sir, to say?
Nope,
Nothing?
no, sir.
Anybody in the public want to speak or for the applicant or against the applicant? Anybody online? Okay, I hear none. Anybody would like to make a motion?
I've got one more question. for the
Oh, you got
applicant,
more
if I
question,
may.
okay.
Did you install the fence yourself, or did you hire a contractor to come out and
I
install
hired a
it?
contractor.
And they didn't tell you that 6-foot fences were not allowed inside yard or in the front yard?
No, they didn't.
Okay. That's all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Anything else? All right, then, anybody, would like to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to grant the variance. Based on the comments by the applicant, I believe that it is hard to accomplish this by any other means. I don't think it makes an undesirable change to the neighborhood. Because of the area is small in general, the area that needing a variance is generally small. I don't think it's substantial. I don't think there's any environmental impacts. And while it is self-created, I do think that it is, in general, better for the neighborhood for this variance to be granted.
Okay, thank you. Second, anybody?
Second?
Okay, any discussion? I hear none.
Yes, please. I
Sure.
think, the very specific character of this lot being the back of the three, and with the neighbors having weighed in who are most affected by this, weighs very heavily on me. And also in the construction industry, we have a term called construction tolerance, which is the difference between what gets drawn and what gets built. And while this is normally that's measured in a few inches or a few feet, and this is a little bit more than that. But I think it's, from my standpoint, this is very much in that same family of things where, to me, that speaks to a not entirely self-created issue.
Any other discussions? Okay, Ms. Choquetti, please call the roll.
Mr. Trimarchi?
I vote in favor of granting the variance. And just one additional thing I'd like to point out. Our board over the years has been very reluctant to grant variances of this nature with 6-foot fences in side yards and front yards. I think there is a critical difference here given the limited size of or distance of the fence that is in the side yard and the front yard, the unusual layout of the property and the adjacent neighbors, and the fact that the neighbors have weighed in on that. So I think that distinguishes this from other applications, and so I vote in favor of granting the variance.
Thank you.
Mr. Gentile?
Yes, voting in favor for the reasons previously stated.
Ms. Pacheco?
I vote in favor of granting this variance and want to also acknowledge that it is a unique situation with this property, with its side being the rear of another property. And it's great to hear the letters of support from your neighbors. So thank you for bringing those tonight.
You're welcome.
So I vote in favor.
Thank you.
Mr. Stein?
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Mr. Antonikowski?
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Acting Chair Latif?
I'm gonna vote yes, and this is like was mentioned before, very rare we approve 6 feet fences in the front of the house. But again, this situation is very unique. The property next door, it's the backyard for the house, so they can put a fence and it will be in the same spot where you put in yours. So for all these reasons, I'm voting yes too. So the motion carries, the variance is granted, and good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
All right, Ms. Choquetti, if you can call the second case.
Appeal by Chris Quinn, agent for a variance from Section 220-18B3B and Section 220-13, Schedule IB of the zoning ordinance of the town of Niskuna as it applies to the property at 2440 Nottingham Mall, Niskuna, New York, located in the R1 low-density residential zoning district, to construct a 12-foot by 34-foot in-ground pool partially within the rear yard setback. Section 220-18B3B states that the required side and rear yard dimensions for major accessory structures shall be the same as applies to the principal building. Major accessory structures are defined as detached accessory buildings or other structures in excess of 120 square feet. The in-ground pool is 408 square feet and is a major accessory structure. Section 220-13, Schedule IB, requires a 25-foot rear yard setback. As proposed, the in-ground pool will be 14 feet from the rear property line. Therefore, an 11-foot rear yard setback variance is required. 11 notices were mailed, 0 responses.
Okay, Representative, I assume you are?
Yes,
Okay, if you can state your name, your address for the record, and
yep.
go ahead and,
Chris Quinn, 2370 Curry Road, Unit 503, Schenectady, New York, 12303.
okay, and if you can tell us on what is going on, why has it been changed, and then tell us the story, please.
Yes, sir. Good evening, members of the board. I appreciate your time in seeing us tonight.
Thank you.
We have a previous approval from your board several months ago.
Hold on a second.
Yep.
The only thing is, you heard me mention to the other applicant, we only have 6 member on the board, so we have to mention it for every
Record.
case.
Yeah,
Do you still want to proceed?
I do,
or-
sir. Yes.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you for the option.
no problem.
So previously we had planned a swimming pool 12 by 26, and your board had been good enough to grant us the rear setback variance from 25 feet down to 14 feet. We're maintaining 10 feet from the house. And on the side yard, we had a setback of 27, which was in excess of the local code of 20. I had planned this project along with the lady of the house. My clients are here tonight, and they're long-term clients of ours. We've done tons of construction for various members of their extended family. So it's an ongoing relationship, and this is the project at hand. But she and I had planned out the pool 12 by 26, and then after board approval, we were refining our permit, and the gentleman of the house had been on a trip to some of his extended family's home where they had a pool which was capable of swimming laps. And he realized the health benefit of using this pool as a piece of exercise equipment, in addition to just being able to cool off. And it's, I'm sorry to bring it before your board twice, but if we could keep the width the same, which would retain the 10-foot distance from the house and the same 14-foot distance from the rear property line as was in the previous board approval, we could lengthen the pool by 8 feet by extending an additional 7 feet.
You need, hold on a second. Grab that mic when you're talking because it's recorded.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you.
So our strategy to accomplish this without running afoul of code would be to extend the deep end 7 feet this way, which would still maintain 20 feet from the side property line, which is in accordance with normal code for this designation of residential. And we could grab 1 foot on the shallow end. So it would be a minor change. But in speaking, I put in the updated drawing through Linda and spoke extensively with Tom in the building department, and they felt that for legal reasons, the best approach would be to come and present before the board one more time, just so everybody's covered.
So what's it going to be now? 12 by 34?
Exactly.
Okay, and you got one foot on that side, and you got the rest on that side.
That's correct. And it would still leave us the 20 from the side yard.
Okay.
And the only net change legally is that the square footage of the pool would be more relative to the lot size. But as in the previous case tonight, this is an unusual lot because it's not only a corner lot, but it's like an end cap of a block. So this house and another house share the end cap like an end cap of a grocery store aisle. So it's a tight situation, and it took a lot of figuring to figure out how to make this work. So I would like to be able to deliver these goals to our mutual client if it's okay with your board.
Okay. Now, you said that we approved it before, and when we approved it, you had 10 feet from the house?
Yes,
Okay, and that's gonna remain the same?
that will.
Okay,
And 14 feet from the rear property line would also remain the same.
okay.
And that's got the previous approval. This pool too, like this rectangle is a worst case scenario because this pool actually tapers and so there's some square footage that we're giving back. This pool is not the full 34 by 12, but it's missing, it's shaped, so it's missing some corners. So our square foot request, we're even overstating our square foot request by at least a dozen or 2 dozen square feet in this drawing.
If you can give the mic back.
Sure.
to,
Thanks, Linda.
Anything else you want to tell us, or?
No, it's been great working in Niskayuna. It's a frequent place for me to pull permits and do this type of work. So it's been pleasurable and I appreciate everything thus far.
Okay, well, I'm gonna open it to the board and see if they have any questions.
Yeah, I've got a question. So is there a variance that's required from the side lot here? So the only change really that's occurring is the size of the pool is increasing from the plans that were presented before when the last variance was granted.
Yeah, so the variance that is granted is from the rear yard and it's 14 feet. And because it's getting wider, it's a longer amount of the 14-foot variance. But no side yard and no square footage variances are needed. It's just this line gets a little longer here and a little longer here. And when the board grants a variance, we consider it to be very exactly with what it was supposed to be.
Any other question? Go ahead.
Hey, a couple of questions. The first one, is there any drainage or water courses or anything that come into play now with the pool moving farther to in this case, the right-hand side? Has that due diligence all been done? There's no French drains, no naturally occurring water courses, no slopes or anything?
No, none visible.
Wouldn't matter before, but would now?
None visible to the eye. If on the odd event that we encounter some outgoing drain from a tile drain, a foundation drain or something like that, then we reroute it around the pool. The pool backfill is completely comprised of fractured bluestone. So there's no dirt going back into the hole. So we actually we assist drainage in the general area because, snow melt is a major concern at this latitude, so we put quality material back in the hole, not just dirt that's going to congest with water and put hydrostatic or worse freezing pressure against our pool walls. So we're a responsible builder in that sense. It's $3,000 or $4,000 worth of gravel going back into that hole, and that's the right way to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just one question, just as a point of reference, Laura, when was this before us?
I think it was
Or
2024 even.
Yeah, last year, right?
Yeah.
Summer, maybe June.
Says-
Yeah, August 21st, 2024.
Okay, thank you.
And the existing variance that was granted has not been built yet. So he was moving forward with his building permit and then put it on pause to come here again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you. I don't have a question, but it's more of a comment. I was here present and part of the previous approving decision last summer. But as I was looking at the application again, I just want to note for the board that this lot, and if you zoom out a little bit on this plan, you can see it's only 110 feet deep in that direction. And the minimum lot size per zoning out of Schedule 220 is 125. So that kind of creates this issue in the backyard. So I just wanted to bring that up as a comment and
Okay,
further
that's a
proof
good one.
that
Thank you.
that
Yeah.
this makes sense.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. So the builder did it to us back in 1973 or whatever it was.
Okay, I'm just gonna go back to Mr. Stein's question about the drainage. When you backwash that pool, can you tell us a little bit about the neighbors and,
Oh, you mean for backwashing, for cleaning the filter?
right,
We have there's going to be enough flexible hose attached at the top of the filter so that it should drain out to the street and be caught by the regular rain catch basins at the street.
okay, so there's a plan for that. And tell us, do you have neighbors next door? Have you talked to the neighbor? Any issues with the neighbor? You having a pool or anything? You have to come up if you want to speak.
All three neighbors have similar pools. Two of the three, I apologize.
Okay, okay. Okay, any other questions? No questions? Anybody in the public like to speak for this applicant or online? Okay, I hear none. Do we have a motion to approve or disapprove this application?
I make the motion to vote in approval of this application for variance. As we have found before, we don't think this can be achieved by other means feasible to the applicant. It doesn't seem that there is an undesirable change in the neighborhood. The request, as before, does not change, so I would not say at this point that because it hasn't changed, it's not substantial. It doesn't sound like there are any adverse physical or environmental effects. And while it is self-created, it is not determinative. And with the reasons that we have already discussed, I vote in approval of this, or make the motion for it to be approved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Ask a question of the board first, or maybe of the town first.
We're in a motion right now, so
Well, it relates to this. Is the motion a
To a-
separate, the motion is to approve a new variance, it's not to approve a modification of the previous variance?
just to approve that we have in front of us the 11 feet setback, that's it.
Okay, so it's a new variance.
Yep.
That's for two, and one of them never gets used. Okay,
Yes.
sorry about that.
No problem.
Next,
Okay.
seconded.
You second? All right, Mr. Stein second the motion.
Gentile.
Huh? Oh,
Stein is
Mr.
there.
Stein is right here, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay, Mr. Getty, if you can call the roll.
Mr. Trimarchi?
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Mr. Gentile?
Yes, for reasons stated.
Ms. Pacheco?
Yes.
Mr. Stein?
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Mr. Antonikowski?
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Acting Chair Lataif?
Okay, I'm gonna vote yes. I want to congratulations to the applicant for hopefully that will give you the exercise that you needed. And good luck with everything. And the variance is granted.
Thank you very much, members of the board. It's a pleasure dealing with you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, next, we do have a rehearing of a case, and we're gonna go over a couple things. I'm gonna have Ms. Robertson explain it to the board. And again, if you have any question, please ask us, and we'll be able to explain to you what rehearing is all about.
Yeah, so this is only the second rehearing request that we have seen, at least in my tenure as the planner. So in 10 years, they're really rare. But 701 Bobby Court came to the zoning board in July of 2023. They had an existing 5-foot height variance for their fence in the front yard along Leishwick Hill. But when they went to replace the fence, they didn't get a building permit and they put up a 6-foot fence. So they came to the zoning board to ask to maintain the 6-foot fence instead of bringing it down to 5. And the zoning board denied that variance request. They took out a building permit at the planning department to bring the fence down to 5 feet, but it was never commenced. And so they are under enforcement action with us. They received their final notice and order from us on December 16th of 2024 before it would go to court. And in their discussions with our building inspector, they stated that the conditions of their property had changed to the point where they wanted to ask the board to rehear the case. There is a section of our code 2020-69L that does allow for a rehearing. The code is pretty specific that in order to have a rehearing, you want to see what conditions have changed, and that the board it has to be a unanimous vote. So a member of the board would have to say, I think this case has changed enough that we're willing to rehear it, and it has to be a unanimous vote on the board in order to do the rehearing. When you guys are discussing the rehearing request, we're not necessarily getting into the specifics of the case and how you really feel about whether or not it'd be granted. What you guys are really thinking about is, has the circumstances changed enough that you would want to re-listen to the exact same case? The fence stands exactly the way that it stood in 2023. So when you guys are looking at it, really is the question, as the circumstances changed enough that you want to look at it again?
Right.
And in your packet, you've got the new reappeal, which everything for that is stamped 2024. Then you have the old appeal so that you could look at the differences. And then you have the minutes from 2023 so you could get that sense. Elena did mention that because the applicant is requesting the rehearing, that if he wished to attend, he could come and give a brief statement about what had changed. I did call him today, and he said he would try to attend, but he did have a conflict. So he's going to try to attend remotely, and he's not currently online. So he does not have to be here.
Okay.
So I don't think you'll be able to hear. So you have to look at just the differences in the applications.
Right. Okay. Is the name, do we have a name for the person or?
His name is Joseph Weber. I did.
Okay. Is Mr. Weber online? No? Okay. So just for the board, basically all we're doing, we have to vote if we want to rehear this case. And if we do want to rehear it, it has to be unanimous. So we all have to vote yes, even there's 6 of us. And this way, next month, they will come back. And then it doesn't mean we're approving it. It means we can rehear the case and then decide. So I would have liked the applicant to be here so we can hear what changes they had, but we do have some stuff in front of us. I'm hoping if you read it earlier, you can, decide, or do you need time, or do you need a discussion? If you need a discussion, we can discuss it, and then we can go ahead and call a roll to see if we want to approve a rehearing. Any questions? Okay, so if there's no question, I'm going to say, do we have a motion for, to approve a rehearing?
I would like, I didn't have any questions, but I just thought I'd raise an issue for discussion.
Okay,
The applicant included a number of pictures of other corner lots in the vicinity of the neighborhood that appear to have tall fences. Have we looked into those and determined whether or not either those are in compliance or out of compliance? And the reason I'm raising it is, if that was a fact, there are a number of other fences like that in the neighborhood that are allowed to exist. And that fact wasn't in front of the board last time. That might be a reason for us to want to reconsider the decision.
We, in the new application, there was a lot more pictures of fences included. We did go through them. At the bottom of the pages, there's a note. Many of those addresses are in the town of Colony, if not all. Let me just check.
so is that the border between Colony and Niskayuna? Like that area?
They live right on the border.
Okay.
We
So
can-
if the fences they talking about, they could be part of Colony properties?
So yeah, so if you look at the pictures of the fence down by where the stamp is, if that address was in the town of Colony, I made a planner's note. The one picture on Route 7 in Leishakil, it says front yard 6-foot fence. That one, I think we looked at and didn't determine that the fence was in the front yard.
It looks like it's in the backyard.
So, but there are new pictures in the application, but we did want to note that the majority of the addresses were in the town of Colony. And
Yeah,
I,
actually,
I'm not
it
familiar with
does
their
say it in
zoning.
the bottom.
On the bottom, it's very small. I didn't want to overtake the
No,
packet.
it
but-
is. It's in the bottom. Okay, any other discussions? Anybody?
Laura, I know, thank you for marking the photos with that. Notice that some of those were in the town of Colony. It seemed like the client also kind of provided additional information about how far away each of those was. But I'm not recalling at the moment, was it very clear that, let's say it was within a mile or within 2 miles? Apparently, the client or the applicant has expressed there's a lot of walking traffic. We know that there are no sidewalks there, so people are walking on the shoulder, the road. We know why they're walking there.
So Elena can jump in here for you guys, although she's sick. So she only
Elena,
will
you
if
there?
she has to. But what I would want to say is that a rehearing request, what we would want to avoid is that an applicant could come back with things that existed when he presented the case. But he or she or whoever may feel badly that they didn't get the variance and think, oh, I wish I had told them about this particular thing.
Right.
That is not what a rehearing is for. So if all of those fences existed in 2023, I don't know that is, as a circumstantial change, if maybe all of them were built between 23 and 2025 when he was still working on getting his building permit in good faith. Maybe that's a change in circumstance. I'm not really sure. I'd say in my review of the packet, there certainly was a change in circumstance in that a baby was born. That is a change in circumstance. Whether or not that rises to the level of a rehearing. But the fences, I think from the pictures, they don't look particularly new to me, so I would be surprised if a lot of them are built in the last year and a half. But I mean, Elena, if you think I'm out of line on that, just jump in.
Laura, since we're discussing this, there's a one picture in here. Let me see if I can find it. That with the fence. Let me see here. Yeah, I don't know if you have this. And it has a lower fence. And is that their property?
That is their property.
Okay, so basically what they saying that somebody can climb that fence, I mean, they do have a lower fence on the other side. I don't know if that's the back or what.
That is the side that faces
is-
Bobby Court.
Towards the.
Yeah, the picket fence faces Bobby Court. The Lisha Kill,
But that's
Road.
what, 4 feet, 3 feet?
is it 4? Yeah, it's 4 feet.
I think it's less of physical security, more about visual privacy and not feeling that they are creating a target.
Yeah, so
But-
if the circumstances around them had become
Yeah,
more dangerous.
that was the question I was going to ask, and maybe this isn't a question, is a material uptick or downtick or different change in the character of the foot traffic, that is new or changed information. And I think benefit of the doubt goes to the applicant on that, at least from my perspective. They're saying conditions are different, not physical conditions, but other circumstances. If they're saying that's different, I'm willing to hear that out.
I would have liked the applicant to be here.
Yeah.
To really ask some questions about why they need a rehearing.
So
I
I
feel
am
the
going to
same way.
interject a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm like really sick, you guys. So don't mind me if I start coughing, but I just looked at the code. I don't see anything that like really gives all that much guidance. I think it's really up to you guys as to whether or not
Right.
you think that there's anything there that's worth rehearing. I mean, maybe the decisions, no, maybe the decisions, yes, but you just have to be unanimous for whatever the reason is. And, you know, to Laura's point, we've only had one other case like this before. It was extremely different because it wasn't even the applicant that was requesting the rehearing. It was a neighbor who had missed that particular meeting. So, I mean, I don't know if that answers the question, but like it's in our code that allows you guys to do it. It's just, there's not a lot of guidance there as to, you know, what criteria need to be met. So I really have to just defer to you guys as to whether or not you think it's appropriate to, with the facts that you have. And I understand it'd be nice to have the applicant there. He's not there. And a little bit to his defense, I'm assuming I heard Laura say she just told him today. And I know I had said to Laura today, if he wanted to be there, he could. So I don't think he was given a lot of notice to appear. So for what that's worth, just take that. That's my opinion. I'm going to be quiet now.
Well, do we want to table it and see if the applicant could be here for us to decide to hear it?
You can do that if you decide you don't have enough information to make that determination as you sit there.
So,
Before you ask that, Chairman, or Acting Chairman, just a question, and I don't know if you, Elena, or anyone else knows for a fact, when did marijuana become legalized in New York State? Was that a change in condition? Because I don't.
I don't recall the exact date off the top of my head. I think it was before this, but I don't know. I'd have to check the dates and all that.
Okay, because if it passed afterward, I could see that as a change in condition.
In the last meeting, they did talk about that smoke shop being there.
Yeah, a couple things I wanted to point out from.
If I may
Oh,
just
I'm
finish the
Sure.
questioning, they did mention that the smoke shop was there, but in the reapplication, they mentioned an increase. So I didn't know if it was tied to a passage of legalization or what have you. So that's what I don't know.
Yeah, the internet says it was legalized in March 31st, 2021.
Okay.
That seems
So it would have
longer
been-
than I remember it being, but
but
Thank you.
Yeah.
probably that store opened later, so that's what it is. So it's up to us, as Elena said. We can table it if you guys want, because I don't feel comfortable without the applicant being here. But again, if you want to take a vote on it, we could take a vote. So,
Did you have another?
Yeah, just one thing to point out. I wouldn't object to a motion to table it, but in order to make sure, I'm sure we've all kind of looked at the record of the last time. They did say the reason they wanted this 6-foot fence is because the neighborhood had changed and they were concerned about security. So that issue was on the table in 2023. It indicates that it's not like they knew that they needed the variance or needed the variance and came and got it before they built the fence. It's clear they built the 6-foot fence, didn't realize they needed it. Seems to me like all their arguments are trying to retroactively explain why it should remain there. And that seems to have been reflected in the vote. There was a motion to approve the variance that was soundly rejected 5-1, and then the motion went the other way. So I didn't see anything in the application materials that suggests to me that there really is a significant change. The fact that he hasn't now gone back and actually obeyed the town's order for over a year suggests to me that he's still trying to get away without having to pay to bring the fence down. So that's where I am right now. But if everyone else felt strongly about tabling it and allowing him to come in and explain any further change in circumstances, I'd be open to that.
well, I honestly think if the person could be here, we could answer, he can answer the questions that we have, or he can explain some of the changes. I think just to give him one more chance by saying, let's table it. If it doesn't show up next time, then we deal with it. So do I have a motion to table it?
I'll move to table the motion.
Second?
Second.
And all in favor, or call the roll, Linda?
Mr. Trimarchi?
Yes.
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Ms. Pacheco?
Yes.
Mr. Stein?
Yes.
Mr. Antonikowski?
Yes.
Acting Chair Lataif?
Yes, and it's been tabled for next time. Anybody have anything want to discuss tonight? If not, motion to adjourn,
Second.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.